Greetings and welcome to the newest episode of the Rice Crypto Show. I'm your host, Rice, and today I'm going to be releasing my in-depth interview with Ben Armstrong, formerly known as Bitboy Crypto. That was recorded on October 5th, 2023. After recording this, it was sent to Ben's attorney for review, and they decided they did not want me to release it. I've been thinking long and hard about it, and I texted Ben yesterday to let him know that I am releasing this interview and why. Now, without getting into details, he said he understood where I was coming from. Truth has many perspectives, but ultimately, there is only one truth. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me on today's show is a very special guest, his third appearance, and this, in fact, is his first public interview since all the drama, and everybody knows what drama I'm talking about, that happened between Hit Network, Bitboy Crypto, Ben Armstrong, and all the other people that we'll be talking about today. So, Ben, I appreciate you coming on the show and giving me this first interview, man. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And, I gave you this first interview because, you've been very fair and balanced on this whole thing. And I've really learned, who my friends are through this situation. And you've been right there as good as anybody else. And, you've listened to both sides. And, I appreciate you. And, it doesn't matter to me doing my first interview. Like, it doesn't matter what size the channel is. I could have gone on plenty of other channels that are, maybe a little more well-known in crypto, but I really appreciate the way you've handled the situation. I thought you deserved it.
Thank you, man. I do appreciate that, man. And obviously, I do have some tough questions to ask you. Just to say it up front, I'm searching for the truth. Like you said, I'm trying to stay as neutral as possible. I'm friends with you. I'm friends with a lot of the people that are involved. Shout out to Altcoin Daily for the interview that they did with TJ. I thought they did a great job trying to stay as neutral as possible, ask questions, even from your perspective. And I know that you're going to be interviewing with them tomorrow, Friday. We're recording this on the 5th of October. Hopefully it'll come out today. If not, it'll be out early Friday. And make sure you guys tune in for the Altcoin Daily interview. I'll have a link for that down below. And I've told you as a friend, man, for quite some time that I've been concerned about your mental health. Everything from the Atozi lawsuit to the Sam Bankman-Fried stuff, the Bahamas, the doxing of the founder of Shiba Inu, the verbal onslaughts of Gary Gensler, kind of making yourself a target, poking the bear, even having the lizard, that you named Gary, and talking about moving to Dubai, your erratic behavior, rants. And again, I was just concerned, man. So I'm glad to see you in a better mental space right now, because you're definitely in a different place now than I think you were even a week ago.
Well, yeah, I'm on very solid ground now. Now, the way there was a period of time where I felt like I was in a psychological prison for sure, and I've broken out of it. I've talked about it before. A lot of the things that have been said and have been done to me have been absolutely atrocious, unbearable on me and my family. And it has been, this is something when the truth comes out, people are going to understand that, I've been the most vilified person in crypto for a long time for a lot of reasons. But then for it to be my own friends that did it to me, it's just absolutely hard to imagine. And I would really push back on, look, guys, I've always been this way. Like, I've always been, the word erratic implies that, like, all of a sudden you start acting different. Like, I've always been fiery. I've always gone on rants.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
On the channel. But the thing is I push against sensitive areas. And that's something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And people say, oh, I can't, he's so crazy. I can't believe he's doing it. Look, guys, if you look at this situation, like even when, everybody knows I was arrested I guess it was 2 weeks ago.
I think it was a week ago. I think we were.
It was a week and a half. It feels like 7 years.
Today's Thursday. We were supposed to do the interview last Tuesday. I think it was last Wednesday that you went to Kentucky. If we're on the same timeline. Yeah. And you canceled because your lawyers had advised you just to kind of take a moment, stop talking. And with that being said, you were even advised as to what you can and can't say with today's interview. And to even add a disclaimer. Same thing with TJ. When TJ did the interview with Altcoin Daily, same thing. There were some things that he didn't mind discussing, and there were some things that he said that he could not get into for legal reasons. So if that's one of the answers to the question, you know, obviously I respect that. But if you can try to be as forthcoming as possible without adding any ammunition to what's already been kind of already added.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And that's the thing. We're in a strong position. I don't need to add any ammunition. At this point, this is about me helping to grow my new channel and letting people know that I'm here. I'm not scared. Things are great with me. You know, have a new studio, new team, better team than I ever dreamed of having. You know, we've got the NWF is our new World Finance. You know, it's got some NWO vibes from wrestling. You know, me and JChains.
Totally wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's always said there's all YouTube videos I watch are old school wrestling videos. So, and this is new for me, right? This is new for me having to watch what I say, because I'm known for not watching what I say. But our position is one in such that, you know, I can only hurt the case at this point by things that I say about it. So I can rehash things that somewhat that we've already talked about publicly, but I can't give any new information per se. And the facts are, like, I think this is a lot about just the tale of what has happened. You know, my journey in crypto, the evolution of me going from being Bitboy to Ben Armstrong, and that's really what people, you know, I hope see from this.
The artist formerly known as Bitboy Crypto.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a link down below for your new Twitter account, and you mentioned your new YouTube channel, so I'll have a link down below for that. You quickly passed my channel up. I've been struggling with my shadow banning and such, man. Yeah. You know, I know if I wasn't dealing with a lot of controversial stuff that I would probably be in a lot different of a position. So it is what it is. I do appreciate, you know, again, you coming on. And for people who don't know about your new channel, I'll have it linked down below. Make sure you guys are following on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and also Ben Armstrong Crypto on the YouTubes. So the first thing I guess I want to ask you, bro, is when did this hit network Bitboy fallout begin between you, TJ, Justin Williams, and whomever else is involved? And if you want to include how and why, when, how, and why did this fallout begin?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, you look back at the history of my company, and now that I've really looked over a lot of stuff and a lot of old messages, a lot of old emails, you know, I believe that this has been set up for a long time against me. And, you know, it's one of those things where you look back and you start to add up a lot of tiny coincidences. Suddenly it doesn't look like a coincidence anymore. I do know that if you go back, I will say this. If you go back to when I was in Alaska in September of last year, I went moose hunting, moose and grizzly bear combo hunting in Alaska, brought back a big old moose. No grizzly bear. It's a long story. Almost drowned in a flood. But the point is that there were some things that occurred right before that trip. Of course, the Atozi lawsuit was going on right during that time, which that was a big disaster. That was one of those times where people were like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Like, I knew things would be good. I knew things would blow over. Like, that was not mentally hard for me at all. It's the worst loss I've ever taken in crypto and in social media. Was going out, you know, trying to file a lawsuit against Atozi, and he said one thing in a video that was completely false. And I wanted to go after that one thing, and the lawyer I used for the case didn't put the one thing I wanted to go after in the lawsuit, and it made me look terrible. And I understand why people thought what they thought about it. And so there was a lot of like kind of draining things that were going on at the time. That was much harder on my office than it was on me, because I take this stuff in stride. Like, if people knew anything about what's been going on here behind the scenes and why this has been done and all the things that, you know, the harassment and, you know, the harassment of family members of mine, you know, hiding of some of my assets from me, you know, so things like that, like, people would be shocked. People are going to look back on how I handled this situation. They're not going to believe it when the truth comes out. So I think for me, you know, it's one of these things where, you know, I look at what happened when I was on that hunting trip, and leading up to that hunting trip, there were some discussions of some people being fired. I've got all the messages and everything. And when I talked about firing some of these people, that is when I believe a plan was launched in August and September of last year to be able to overthrow me. I've got plenty of proof of this. And so for the last year, it's really been people just sitting and waiting for the right time. And the involvement in this of other people there, I think, is very deep. I don't think everyone that is at that studio is complicit. I don't think everyone understands what's going on underneath the surface there. And they will tell you that they do. They'll say, "Oh no, we know what's going on." No. I promise. You think you do, but you don't. The only people that know the truth are the people at the very top and me, and that's it. And there's nobody that extends out after that. And so
I can attest to that, because after talking to everybody, I'm still kind of confused.
Right. Well, I think that's by, confusion
By design.
It's a good war strategy. Absolutely. 100%. That's why you only get, I have to be vague about some answers here on this interview, but you do see from me, like, I've told the same story since day one. Now I've learned new things that have added on to that, but I've told the same story since day one. In May, go ahead.
The video that you did with your wife after the cheating of the affair came out, the Carlos audio leak, that video, you kind of flipped. You went the opposite direction, because you came out immediately. You came out, obviously, you know, you felt attacked, but then and talking negatively about all the parties involved, and talking about the Bitcoin Telegram, I think was the first public thing that you did. Yeah, the AMA on the Bitcoin Telegram. So, and then you did the video with your wife, and you kind of took back a lot of those things, and you spoke very highly of people like Justin Williams, TJ, Vumio, the company, and so forth. So we can get into that, but that's the only inconsistency I saw. Right.
Yeah, people have to understand that was under death threat. And after it happened, I came out, and when I was did the lead calls, that's what I said happened. I was under a death threat, guys, and I've really been scared for my life. This is not, and I'm still scared for my life. I'm as scared for my life as I've ever been. I'm just choosing not to live in that fear. But the threat is real, and the threat is coming not just from. I believe there are people that are outside of that building also that are involved in this, and the threat to the danger of my life. At this point, though, like all of the things that I know and I've discovered and the evidence that I have. There are other people who now have that evidence. And so because of that, now, even if a shot were to be taken at me, it's irrelevant. The truth is already out there, and people are going to find it. So, not they're going to find it, people are going to tell it. So I think for me, that's been the scariest thing about all this. And that's why I made the apology. Now, look, certainly I'm sorry I had an affair. Certainly. I mean, I'm sorry for the public humiliation that I've caused my family. Now, I did this to my family. I didn't cause the public humiliation. I mean, people see the kicking of a man while he's down, and you know, the double talk of, oh, we really care about him, but also like, hey, here, let's tell you every bad thing he's ever done to try to sway public opinion. So people see through all that stuff, and everybody from the outside looking in understands what's going on. The only people that are seeing what they want to see through rose-colored glasses are people who are inside of that building over there, and people that support that side, which is not very many people. And so I think from a logical perspective, people looking at this from the outside in, everyone can see that there's something wrong. Everyone can see that there's something that doesn't add up. Because, you look at it from a business sense, everybody's saying, I don't understand. Why has Ben not in the building? The channel is tanking. Obviously, because that's not what this is about. This isn't about business. It's about something much deeper than that.
Right. I feel you. And I know that, a lot of this will come out after everything is settled, after the dust settles, whether it's a court battle or an actual settlement. We don't know what's going to take place, but that's when I think all the information will be kind of readily available to people, and they'll have a fuller understanding. So it was Sunday, August 27th that they announced, basically privately to around the blockchain members, and I guess other people that were associated. Yeah. Privately to a bunch of YouTubers, which, doesn't really make for private, because it obviously got leaked by a couple people, but they announced it publicly on Monday, the 28th of August, and did that video talking about you relapsing into substance abuse, and to reconcile emotional, physical, and financial damage to employees of Hit Network and Bit Squad. When you were out of town when all this took place, you were in Colorado and at Rare Evo, right? Did you have any clue that this was going to take place when it happened? What were your immediate thoughts, and did you know it was going to happen?
How could I have? The day before, TJ said he wanted to mediate with me. I had the text message. He said, yeah, let's mediate. Let's sort this out. That was the last text message that he sent me before all this happened. And so I was under good faith that we were going to get all this straightened out when I got back from out of town. But, you know, I guess I was living in a world at that point where I was nervous about what was happening, but I didn't see this move because it's unprecedented. Like, you don't see this in business, a 33% owner, a one person, 33% minority owner overthrowing a 67% owner and founder who created the company and gave him a job and made him a millionaire overnight when I signed him to a 33% deal that I should have never signed him to. And so obviously, you know, what I've realized is I was never in control of my own building. I was never in control of my building. I thought I was, but I look back at all the text messages I have of all the times that I tried to fire, tried to separate from TJ, tried to fire his dad, tried to fire Justin. And I've got text messages of all these times I told TJ we need to fire these people, and they were never fired. And you start to see that there was always there was always a plan in cahoots, you know, from people in that building against me. And I think there was some brainwashing of people on lower levels. And I think there's still brainwashing, still active brainwashing. I think when the people that are saying these things about me over there, when all this comes out and they understand why they were used as pawns against me, they're going to be left with some weird feelings. I don't know what that's going to be like for them. But I assume that there's going to be a lot of people in that building that are going to need counseling when all this is over, and it has nothing to do with me. So I think that, you know, it's just one of those things where, like, I woke up and my wife called me and she was the first one that told me what had happened. I had noticed that I was locked out of my YouTube account, but I didn't really think anything about it. But there was a strategic plan to remove me from every account so I didn't have access to any evidence that could be used against the other parties in my email. The email was completely deleted. So every email conversation that I ever had was now gone. And so it was one of these things where I just woke up kind of in a stupor of like, okay, well, what do I do now? And, you know, I basically spent a good part of that Sunday just kind of sitting back, thinking. People know I was absent from social media, thinking about what I was going to do. And it's funny, you know, it's always been presented to, I know, the employees that it's over. It's over, guys. I'm not coming back. It's over. That's the way it's been presented. But there's never been a moment where that was true. I've been fighting from day one, and I'll continue to fight all the way. This is going to end up in court. And if you know, they're very confident that they're going to win, well, good. Let's go at it, because there's a 0% chance that they're walking away with everything that I own. And you know, also they can't afford a buyout. There's no buyout they can possibly make me. And so sure, offer me a buyout, you know, sure, offer it. We'll see what it looks like. But there's going to have to be an appraiser that's going to have to go in there and open the books to see what the value may be. And so I'm really looking forward to someone coming in there and opening the books.
Right. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And as far as TJ and Justin Williams, do you think that they were trying to work together to save themselves because they were threatened, feeling like they were going to be fired, no longer a part of the company?
They were fired. There's a text message directly from me to TJ saying that when I get back, I would like for TJ, his dad, and Justin Williams to all be out of the building. That was before they fired me. And that's why in the leaked audio call, TJ says, oh, I only did this because you said I was fired. You said that you didn't want to move forward with me, and he didn't want that. And so everyone heard on the call what was said. And so this has been a clever ruse from day one.
Was this because TJ mentions the Monday before the firing, which would have been the Monday before you went to Rare Evo, that there was a physical altercation that Carlos
had
to break up.
There's no physical altercation. That's a lie.
Okay, but we can get into the altercation stuff. But was that the incident that caused you ultimately to say to TJ he was fired?
No, I told him the day before. The day before, and he showed up to work, and I was surprised. And that's why the first thing I did that morning when I got there was I asked you know, Justin's people to move his stuff out of his office, and that's what happened. Basically, everyone knows that there is a third party involved in this, who basically came in and told me I wasn't allowed to do that. I mean, guys, if you go watch the live stream that is on that channel that I did on that Monday morning, you can see about, I don't know, maybe it's 5 minutes into that video, that third party comes into my office and tries to intimidate me by being present. And you will see me reach around look around the computer and basically ask him to leave. There was intimidation from the very beginning, trying to force my hand. I've never had the power to fire the people in the building, and I didn't realize it because they were all working together.
That's interesting. I mean, I know that there's an operating agreement and a structure, but I don't know. I'm not privy to knowing what that information is, what everybody agreed to, what everybody didn't agree to. So, I mean, that's contract law. Contract law is pretty damn plain. If everybody signed, especially if they signed, willingly, and it sounds like when the company was formed, everybody's willingly signed.
Well, right, but someone can sign an operating agreement, but if that operating agreement is never actually adhered to, or if the section of the operating agreement is applied incorrectly, which most definitely is the case in this case, then it doesn't matter. It's invalid. You can't just take a clause or a section of an operating agreement and say, oh, I'm going to use this right now, but you don't have any due process. You don't have any documentation. You don't have any right to do so. And especially like, hey, guess what? You don't get to apply the operating agreement after I told you we need to you were separating from me. That at that point, anything he did going forward is invalid.
All right. So, I mean, there was some allegations that were made in the public statements in regards to emotional, physical, and financial damage, and then the relapsing into substance abuse. And then there were some other allegations that TJ had made, or accusations, in the interview with Altcoin Daily. He talked about the first assault with him, because he's saying there was multiple, was when that you were he was pinned in a chair. You had your head against his forehead. Me and you talked a little bit privately about that. Was that an incident?
Very early on in the days of the business, TJ and I, we had a lot of words with each other, but that's all that it was words. Neither one of us has ever struck the other one. Neither one of us has ever pushed the other one. Neither one of us has ever headbutted each other. There has never been any physical contact between TJ and I, and that is done in a forceful way. Certainly, there have been times where we've been very heated and we've been very close to each other, and our bodies may, I mean, when you are, into it with someone, you're really young. Sometimes you're very close to each other. Your bodies can be next to each other, but there's never been a strike or a force or an action that has been done in a way to hurt the other person, and that's on his side and that's on my side. And the situation you're referring to, that was a situation of two guys that were very heated in an argument, and we were right up next to each other, and that's all that it was. And the allegation that there's been multiple physical is absolutely false. It's 100% false. And in fact, that the assault has been walked back by Hit Network already. They had to change it to attempted assault. I guess they just thought that they were going to be able to get out there and make up lies and allegations against me. And like, I was going to be like, all right, guys, they said this, I guess it's true. Absolutely not.
Okay. Well, sticking with the assault stuff, he mentioned that next one, which would have been Monday, the 21st of August. And then he also mentions another individual. He mentions an individual that there was an altercation that ultimately led into a settlement that cost the company money. Towards the end of the interview, he alluded that, based off a question that was given by Altcoin Daily, was alluding that was JChains. Did you get into a physical altercation with JChains that caused him to ultimately leave Hit Network or Bitboy Crypto at the time?
That's false. That's false. Justin and I have been friends for a long time. And Justin and I, we have had times in our career with each other and our relationship with each other that have been tense. But what I can tell you is that is absolutely not why JChains left Hit Network. And the reason why he left is private. It's for him to say if he wants to say. But that is not at all what happened. Justin and I, we had an intense argument. People saw it. People saw what occurred. That is not why he left. He left about a month after we were in that intense conversation. And of course, it's being used. And look, guys, I don't know if people know this, but basically the long and the short of it is that JChains, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but JChains was told by people on the other side that if he did not tell what happened the way they wanted him to, that they were going to tell his story for him. And those are the tactics of the other side. And that's absolutely what happened. And
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure that he would stand by and say that that is true. And he would also say that the incident that occurred between us is not ultimately what put him out the door. Certainly there were some intense moments. That was the bottom of the bear market pretty much in terms of price wise. Sentiment may be a little worse now, but that was the bottom of the bear market, guys. And it was very tense at work. We had a Tozy lawsuit going on. There was a lot of stress. And like I said, the Tozy lawsuit was much harder on the employees than it was on me, because I can take that stuff in stride. And there were a lot of people that were worried. And it's one of these things, when somebody goes through something hard, you say, oh, they must be feeling like this. They've got to just be downtrodden about it. I've learned to let stuff just roll off my back. Yes, I can, in the heat of the moment, sometimes it may look like, I care and very passionate about different things, but overall I can take a step back and I can look and say, okay, every situation that occurs on social media, with rare exception, is going to blow over. And I knew the Atozi case was, but there were other people in the building who could not see that. And I went to Alaska and came back and it was pretty much over. And the reason that Justin left the building, it actually had a lot more to do, or I would say 100% to do. It had to do with a message that I had to deliver to him on behalf of TJ. So ultimately, the thing that pushed Justin out the door, it did not come from me. And he will tell you that. It came from TJ. And everything about that situation is being misconstrued. And it's being, it's being twisted to fit a narrative. And people see, I don't have a narrative, guys. I don't have an agenda. I'm just telling you the truth. When you don't have the truth on your side, all you can do is tell a narrative with an agenda and propaganda. And that's exactly what's going on. And that's why he was told that if he didn't come out against me, then they were going to do it for him. And that's exactly what they did on the Altcoin Daily interview. It was very planned and strategic. I gotta say, they're very good at strategy. They're very good at strategy. Was there
a physical altercation though between you and JChains that ended in a lawsuit and a settlement?
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
Okay, because I assumed there was an NDA and nobody could talk about it. And since you were no longer technically a hit network, you could talk about it. That's the reason I wanted to ask you. Because
there is an NDA. I didn't sign the NDA because I was the founder and the owner. I could do whatever I want, and I could talk about it if I wanted to. But what I will tell you is that what they're saying occurred did not occur in the way they're saying it occurred, and that is not what led him out the building.
Okay. Well, JChains, if you're watching this, man, you're more than welcome to come on if you want to explain your side of what happened, because that's kind of what I gathered was that one, and it would have been the first physical altercation that took place at Hit Network per TJ, unless I'm getting the timeline on the headbutting thing wrong. But
there's no headbutting. There was no headbutting.
It was said you shoving your head into his hip.
No, I mean it wasn't like shoving my head. Look, there was. The what is being said about that is being overblown 1,000%. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like this, right? So if you and I were to get into it and we were to be very passionate, we were to be nose to nose to each other, nose to nose. That's not a physical altercation. Like
it's on the
no
brink
one would sit there and define that. Yeah, no, like if you saw two guys at a bar and they got nose to nose with each other and they were yelling at each other, and then that's all that happened, no one would describe that as a physical altercation. That's basically the equivalency of what's being used here against me.
Okay. Appreciate you explaining that, man. And again, JChains, I'd love to get you on. Hopefully you're watching. Next question I wanted to ask about was the misappropriation of funds. Because they talked about you collateralizing NFTs, 2 Bored Apes, Mutant Ape, leveraged him for gambling, lost it, liquidated company portfolio to send to stake. And that would have been the portfolios that you had that you were doing videos on, I guess, like your ISO portfolio. That's what he's alleging. Unauthorized movement of funds for personal and gambling. That you were entitled to, and the argument was that you're entitled to 67% of the draw, but you took more than 67% of the draw.
That's 10,000% false.
And claiming that you own 100% of the company.
No, and 67% of the company, guys, the value of the company is high. And I've never touched close to 67%. And I see what they're doing. I know what they're doing. I'm not a dummy. I see their plan on how they're trying to characterize me. And this is what I tell you, Rise, there's no need for me to even go down through each of these allegations against me, because I could go down over each one and I can explain to you why each one is unequivocally false. But that actually, by having to go in and explain that, that gives it credibility. These things are so laughable and asinine and provable in court on my side that there's no reason to even address them than to say, I never misappropriated funds at work. That's 100% false allegations. And there's never been a documented case of any of this. There's not one piece of documentation where they can ever say that, oh, you know, we went to him and we explained that, you know, we thought he was doing this or that. It's never happened. So like, as far as the misappropriation of funds and like the embezzlement with the state contract, right? That like Stake paid directly, and there's proof on the internet, and everybody sees that the other side knew exactly what was going on with that situation. And Stake itself, Stake, the people at Stake would also tell you that Cassie was deeply involved in those negotiations. And let me tell you something that people don't know. Okay, Cassie was dealing with Stake. Okay, TJ, I call TJ and I say, TJ, man,
and she did the deal. She actually was 100%. The person who did the deal.
She was the person. TJ only spoke with Stake one time, and Cassie was on the call. I only spoke with Stake one time, and she was on the call. She spoke to Stake countless times, and she continued to have a good relationship with them and talk to them the entire time. And the truth is, if it wasn't for Cassie, my staff could not have met the deliverables that Stake was asking for. There were multiple times. The first 6 weeks, we almost lost the deal because the people in my building were incapable of meeting the deliverables. And so Cassie had to step in, and she had to like come up to the office for a week and hold everybody's hand and show them how to do it. And we almost lost it. There was a week where they didn't pay us because we didn't meet the deliverables. So to pretend like that she wasn't involved in that deal, I mean, that shows the deep dishonesty that's going on there, and also why they deleted our emails, because obviously they were trying to delete communications between all of us, but yet we've got communication galore on Telegram. And of course, a lot of people never trusted TJ. And that's one reason why there were always screenshots taken and all of the meetings were recorded. So all of that stuff is unequivocally false. But what happens is I call TJ and I say, TJ, man, I think the Stake deal can be really good. I think we get 150K. And he agrees that that's what we're going to go for, is $150,000 a month. Cassie comes in the next day and says, guys, I've been doing some research. I think we can get $2 million per month. Excuse me? And we went through negotiation, and we ended up at a price of $1 million per month with stake.com. And so because of that, like, that shows you right there that there was $850,000 per month of value that would have been missed out on if she did not negotiate that deal 100%. So it's just the lengths that have been gone to lie and try to make it seem like something has happened that hasn't happened. And they, like I said, they're extremely strategic. They've thought that they played a good game to try to make me look bad. But like the Cassie thing with Stake, like, very clearly provable. The fact that it was first reported as I assaulted TJ, and then they had to backtrack and go to attempted assault. It's like, and people can look at the timeline and you can see that every time there was a statement made about me, there was a different claim. It was a different allegation on why I was fired, right? Remember, we started with a relapse, right? That's where we started. We started with a relapse. Now we're to death threats. I think that was the latest narrative that they tried to push out, which is also 100% false. I've said the same story from day one. And I've spoken to a lot of people in law enforcement over this on different levels, in different jurisdictions of law enforcement. And I can tell you that, and every lawyer I say, they all say the same thing. They all say, when you look at the situation, it's very obvious who's being honest. It's very obvious who's lying. The thing is that when you look at what's realistic and what's possible, it just seems very, very far-fetched that people would go to this far of an extreme to try to tar and feather an innocent man. And yet that's what's happened. And I'm very confident that over time, and not a long time, I believe by the end of the year, that's exactly what people will see has happened here.
Well, I mean, like I told you, it makes Jerry Springer look just like normal stuff. Like, it's gone beyond. I mean, it's very movie worthy. It's just so calculated, like you said, on some sides, and then your side just, I mean, honestly, like Atozi, I think he was thankful for, in a way, being able to like roast you with the arrest, because I think he posted that. I think he ultimately posted that video on his channel.
That's fine. I tell you this. I just want to say this. In a year from now, people are going to look back on that video that I made, and they're going to understand it. People are going to look back on that video, and they're going to look at it with totally different eyes. People are going to see this story an entirely different way, because people believe that there's one story that's being told right now, and in reality, there's a totally different story underneath the surface that I can't get into. But there's something going on that's much, much, much bigger than just I was mad about a Lamborghini, and people are going to see that. And I think in the future, people are going to look back when the TV show or the movie's out, and they're going to be shocked that that's all that I did. They're going to be shocked that I was able to power through this. They're going to be shocked that I've been able to make content and have a good attitude and joke around and play and make the best out of this situation. People are going to be shocked at the way that I've been able to go through this. And look, I think that was definitely not a great, that was something that played well for the other side. And I think maybe they thought when that all went down on that Monday, I think they believed they probably had me. They thought they had won. And there's never been, I want to be very clear here. There's never been one moment during this entire saga, no matter how it looks, that I wasn't going to win. There's never been one moment. It's just a matter of time and letting the process play out.
Okay. You mentioned Cassie, and one of the questions that I wanted to ask you in regards to her is, aside from what was announced via Carlos Diaz with the audio leak with the affair and her being involved in Bitcoin and the stake deal, is there any other, is she involved in this in any other way?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, she has been as vilified and victimized in this as I have. And in some ways even more, because obviously, from what I see on my social media and from what most people tell me, and for me looking at the numbers is very obvious. People have came with me and they sided with me in this situation. And I would actually argue that, my reputation is better than it's ever been. And I can tell you, after this is over, it's going to go through the roof. My reputation, and the kind of person I am, and my honesty and my transparency in crypto, it's going to be seen and it's going to be on full display. And there's going to be people who are going to say that I'm dishonest. They're going to have a really hard time after all this is out, ever making that accusation again. But the thing is I get positive stuff here. I get all the applause. Now I certainly get tomatoes from some people. I deserve some tomatoes for what I did for the affair. I get it. It wasn't something I ever thought was capable. I didn't think I was capable of doing it. I really didn't think it was in my DNA to ever do something like that. And I did it. And I take ownership of that. And so I do deserve, I am a hypocrite in a lot of ways with things I've said in the past. I get it. And it doesn't feel good by any stretch of the imagination. But she's getting drug on social media. She's getting drug over and over and over again. And the fact is, if you're going to drag her, then you need to drag me. People don't need to be giving her an unfair shake because she's the woman in this situation. I'm just as responsible as she is, and I take full responsibility for that. But it's like, there's a lot of people on the internet that are saying things like a lot of the DJs are like, oh, look what Bitboy pulled, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's great. Like I get the comments from the boys that are making like comments like, oh, like I didn't like him before, but now, now I like him. Especially all the GTA memes, for instance.
Right.
And so there was certainly none of that stuff is, I don't take pride in any of that by any stretch of imagination, quite the opposite. But Cassie's getting nonstop drug on the internet, and she doesn't deserve it. And I would just really encourage everybody to support her. She's a great employee. She does a good job in everything that she does. And, she deserves that. I mean, obviously, everybody feels sorry for my wife. And she's gotten some bad comments, but the general perception of my wife is very good, and she deserves that as well. She's been as good as gold through all this. She has been loyal even though I wasn't, and she deserves everybody's applause for sure. She deserves everyone's support for sure.
I commend
her.
But
that doesn't mean that people have to drag Cassie through the mud.
And I agree. I mean, and originally, technically, TJ and Hit Network, the whole thing, the announcement never included like the personal stuff like that, not the cheating. But he did insinuate in the interview with Altcoin Daily, and it seems like he was insinuating the situation was with JChains, but that you had to kind of bring it more into present. Some people at the office were supposedly aware of you and Cassie's affair. You were asking TJ for a list of people so you could communicate with them. He said that this had happened, previously, and that when he had given the names that you went after those employees. Did JChains accuse you, or was there a previous affair that took place before?
There's no previous affair. There's absolutely no previous affair.
Cassie's the only woman that and I know
Cassie
it's
is the
a little
only
personal.
woman I've ever had an affair with. And there's not, I can assure you all, there's not a thing that's going to come out down the road to where like I'm some kind of predator. And like, I've got all these girls that I've been sleeping around with and stuff. Cassie is the only woman I've ever had an affair with in any relationship I've ever had in my entire life. And the insinuation that I wanted some kind of list of everybody so I could go confront them is 100% false. And once again, a narrative that has been twisted. The fact is that I was told a story that every single person in the office knew that I was having an affair. So what did I do? I went, I asked people, and I was told by employees that they did not know. So that left me with questions. And so I told TJ specifically over and over and over again, I didn't want to know who knew for a confrontation. That's false. Over and over and over again, I told him this. The fact is, I wanted to know how to operate at work. If everyone truly knew at work, then what we need to do is we needed to have a company meeting, and we just need to get it all out on the table and explain it. You need to understand, we had about 35 employees there. I want you to think about the difference of this. If 7 people knew or 35 people know, that's quite a dramatic difference. If 7 people knew, then it's something that, okay, then we don't have to tell everybody about this, and we can try to fix it behind closed doors. If everyone knows, then it freaking needs to be addressed. And that was my take there. And there were things that have said, generalities and vague things in gray areas that were used in manipulation and persuasion over me. There were things that were told to me that were unequivocally false, simply to try to get me to go along with the company line that TJ wanted me to do and wanted me to toe. I was never confronted about this situation, and people knew. There were many people in the building that knew for at least since the beginning of May, a lot of them since April, if not before that. And so I just wanted to know how to operate at work. And I think that was a reasonable request. And the fact that he couldn't honor that reasonable request, that sent a lot of red flags up my way. I mean, here's the question. If everyone at work knew, then why did TJ call every employee and let them know that I was having an affair after the conversation we had? It didn't make sense. I could tell something wasn't adding up. Something wasn't adding up from the very beginning. And that's why I got I was so concerned about that situation. It wasn't that I wanted to know how I wanted to operate at work, but I could tell from the very beginning that TJ was lying to me about things. And that's what really alarmed me. And that's what led me to tell him that his dad, and Justin had to leave the building.
Okay. We'll go over 2 more of the accusations, the substance abuse. They, when they first said it and they made the announcement, they said relapse into substance abuse. And obviously knowing that you have a past, because you're very open and transparent with that, I think a lot of people assume the worst. You put out a drug test of any like illegal narcotics, basically marijuana, cocaine, heroin, all that kind of stuff. It came out later with you admitting. It came out later with you admitting to steroids and diet pills. They had mentioned
both of which I had prescription for.
Right, and PJ was saying that you were using a 30-day prescription in like a 5-day period as well, though.
Who said that?
You weren't TJ. You said that in that interview.
Not
TJ.
You said
AJ. I didn't mean to. If I said there's so many blank J's that company. It's incredible how many of you guys there were.
I know.
Anyways,
well, look, here's what I'll say on this. Everyone understands what the accusation is when a drug addict gets accused of a relapse. Everyone understands what that means. And this is something that now you have media organizations out there and social media accounts that have now ran with the fact that I've relapsed. And now they're talking about cocaine. Of course, the story was when I got arrested, it was Ben was high on cocaine and he was out there trying to kill somebody and blah, 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 blah. And that's a direct result of the defamation and slander that's been used against me with the word relapse. Okay.
So you
When a
weren't on
meth addict
cocaine?
relapses, everyone understands what that means. That means they're doing hard drugs again. And the comment that was made on the Altcoin Daily interview that I thought was very interesting was that, first of all, of course, they try to discount the drug test, but they did that secondly. The first thing they tried to do is say
the validity of it,
yeah,
the validity of the drug test is what they tried to dismiss.
Well, that was the second. That was the second part. The first thing that was said is that, well, the drugs on the drug test weren't the ones in question. It was like a 14 panel test, I think, a 10 or 14 panel. It covers about every drug that's out there. Because when they said relapse, everyone knows that means hard drugs. It doesn't mean a couple prescriptions that I was taking that people knew that I was taking and it was not hidden and it was not a secret thing, right? The implication is that I'm hiding and doing all these drugs. And I know actually, there have actually been many phone calls that have gone out from that building from people involved in this to other influencers, people who I've known, family members, digging, trying to find a drug that I've done. There was a campaign to try to find, did you see him doing drugs? Have you seen him doing drugs? And I think maybe at the beginning of this, maybe they believed that they could find something. They believed that maybe I was doing drugs and they could just expose it. And it's just 100% false. It's something that has been
my
used
mind,
against
though,
me.
If you were, as many times I've hung out with you, like at outside events, I've been out with you
Right.
at bars, clubs, you never
Yes.
drank alcohol. So, I
Never.
mean, I would think that if you were doing some sort of substance, you probably would have slipped
Someone would
into
know.
drinking
Yes.
or something like that. Or,
Right,
and
of course.
being
Well,
that drinking is the legal lesser of evils, even though it's the worst on your body. But yeah.
Yeah, of course. I've always said alcohol is the worst drug, but it's the only one I ever did when I was younger that I couldn't remember what I did the next day, But I got plenty of experience with drugs when I was younger. I mean, a lot of people know that. A lot of people know I went through.
So you weren't using cocaine though?
Absolutely
Nope.
not. I've not touched.
What about
Absolutely. I've not
the
done any.
Xanax and Adderall that they were saying that you were asking employees about?
Look, I think that when it comes to this, it's just very important for me to say this. I have not relapsed. There has not been substance abuse. This is all 100% false. And once again, by me going down to every single claim that they've made and trying to say, no, I have not done this. No, I have not done this. All that does is give it more credibility. And I refuse to give credibility to a false allegation that's been proven false already. And notice that was the focus, guys. When this was all levied against me, and this was I know the conversation that was given to the employees, it was, guys, Ben has relapsed and we're here for him and we need to help him. So what we need to do is we need to figure out every single bad thing he's ever done. So please tell us. Like that's basically was the conversation. And so I think that giving credibility to this, to the word relapse, because it's very important to understand the word relapse, what that means. It means I'm using hard drugs and I'm out of control and I need help. And all of that is false. It was all set up to try to force me into rehab so I would get out of the building for 2 or 3 months so they could go behind my back and steal the company. Then every piece along this way has been about putting me in a position to where I can't fight. And it's been as lackadaisical as like just making random accusations up. It's been as real as giving me death threats and telling me that I was going to get killed for a missing $3.2 million from the books, apparently, according to some people, according to what I was told I was going to be killed over. I was told that if I didn't give Carlos $3.2 million, that he was going to put me under the concrete. And I have the call where he says that, but I'm not going to release that because there's no point in me releasing anything going forward because it just gives them credibility. There's no credibility in any of this. And it's one of these things where it's pointless for us to sit here and go over every allegation, because when you understand from the beginning that this was a setup and a conspiracy, then you understand that anything that we say that tries to give it validity, it only hurts me because none of it is true. And anything that might have any shimmer of truth to it is twisted and contorted for optics and smoke and mirrors to make me look bad and make them look good. But you can tell that people aren't buying into this. How can you tell? Go look at the numbers on the channels.
Right. No, I feel you on that. I get what you're saying, man. I just unfortunately doing this interview, as I was telling you, I have to ask you specific questions.
I understand. I'm not upset with you. I know what people want to know. I know people want the gossip. That's what people want. But
it's just like when I interviewed Brock Pierce.
What's that?
When I interviewed Brock Pierce, he said to me, I have successfully asked him every bad question somebody can ask him. And that's the only way I can effectively do a good interview.
I understand.
You know,
I get it. And for me, now having to like Because trust me, guys, trust me. I want to say everything. I want to talk about everything that I know. And I want to break down every single one of these accusations and tell you why they're not false. Because I am an innocent man who has been tarred and feathered. And I want to show everybody why. But I'm in a position of power now. Because now I know all of this is going to come out. This is going to court and it's all going to come out. And it's going to come down to people choosing to finally buckle down and tell the truth, finally deciding that they're going to shut up and not say anything because everything that they say will work against them, or lie under oath. That's the only choice that these people have on the other side.
Okay. Is there any credibility to the allegations and accusations of physical and sexual assault? Because I was told that one of the individuals that's, and it's not Nick Diamante, but the other individual that is filing for sexual
guy,
assault,
right?
is another male.
They're all males. Right?
Apparently, it was so bad that he's in therapy. I'm not making a joke of it. I'm not making a joke of it.
I am. That is a joke.
TJ's saying that in the interview with Altcoin Daily, this is a subject that's being overlooked and glanced over.
Of course it is, because this.
Do you like boys?
I'm glad you asked that question because on Altcoin Daily interview, of course, they asked, Austin asked, "Are you making the allegation that Ben is gay?" And of course, TJ said,
Ben Gay Crypto. That could be a new crypto channel name.
That's a good name. They said, you would have to ask him. Guys, I should not have to answer this question. There is not a person on the freaking planet that thinks that I'm gay. There's not a person on the planet that thinks that. There's nothing to back that up. And once again, look at what all this is over, right?
Well,
yes,
I wouldn't 100% say it has to be gay though. Did you sexually harass anyone?
No,
did you call them any derogatory terms, anything like that? Hit anybody's testicles?
Go watch the intro. Go watch the intro to Blockchain Basement. In the intro to Blockchain Basement, Nick Diamante says, "Well, if you're gonna screw me, make sure to pull my hair first." And then TJ says, "Hell yeah." Guys, the entire environment at Hit Network is a locker room environment. Justin Williams, Nicholas Diamante, TJ Shed, and everyone involved over there, and every person that works there will tell you, and there are people that work there that no longer work there that will tell you, it was a locker room environment at that place. And so is there ever been a joke by anyone there that said, go watch the intro to Blockchain Basement, guys. Go watch the way that me and Frank interact on the channel. People understand the innuendos. TJ is heavily guilty of innuendos that are of a sexual nature. And what I will tell you is this, once again, I am absolutely not going to go down allegations of sexual assault and explain what happened or why something happened or it didn't happen. It's mental to think that I would even have to defend that.
That is a separate issue, though. It has nothing to do with the Hit Network stuff, and it's it happened.
What do you mean? It all has to do with it. It all has to do with it because people.
Is it like but is it a situation that's going into court together with all of this kind of lumped together?
It's for the lawsuit. That's all that it is. It's for the lawsuit, because in the lawsuit they make allegations that are general and vague, and so they feel like they've got to put stuff out to back it up. Everything that's being done, guys, is smoke and mirrors for the lawsuit. And I think that, once again, there are people that are going to have to be in counseling in that building over their complicitness or their complicity in this scheme when they realize what they've actually been covering up for someone else. There's something that's being covered up, and the people in the building are not aware of it. They don't know what it is, and I do. And they know now that I know.
Are you at liberty to speak about that?
Absolutely not. I will not say a word about it. All I will know is that people that know what they've done, they know what they've done.
So TJ mentioned the reason that they were able to remove you, fire you, however they want to put it, was because of a clause in the operating agreement. And this was done based off council recommendation. And the council came in, questioned employees, and a bunch of statements started coming out. And it was advised to enact this clause, which stated roughly, and there's a long detailed verbiage, but the gist of it is, if a member is causing material damage and harm to the company, the remaining members can vote to expel that member and buy back their shares or dissolve. And they wanted to do a 60-month buyback. What are your thoughts on that whole enactment of that clause in the operating agreement?
It's a joke. He was fired. Guys, I told TJ we were separated first. It's very obvious. It's very clear what happened. Counsel was brought in after the plan was enacted to overthrow me, after TJ, Justin, and Tim were all fired. Now, the structure of Vumio doesn't allow me supposedly to be able to fire Justin. And that's why I asked him to move the building, because I certainly could evict Justin and move Vumio somewhere else. And I think that it's just one of these things where it's obvious it was a coup. It was, guys, I don't use the word coup d'etat in lightly. Guys, he was fired. He admitted on a phone call he was fired, admitted also that he did not want to be fired. And that's why he did what he did. This is very cut and dry. There was no thoughts of this clause brought up before TJ was fired. It was only after he was fired that he then went to counsel and found someone who I guess would agree that he could enact this clause. But see, his counsel doesn't understand that he was fired first. There's no way he could possibly know that, because if he knew that, then that means the clause is 100% invalid. And so, it's very obvious what's occurred here. And you can't, it's like this. I fired him. There were people in the building that were terrified of what would happen when they were removed and I had to bring in a new CFO to look at the books. Okay. That's what the fear was from the very beginning. This was the fear that someone would come in and look at the books. Why? Well, I have no idea why. I was told that I was lied to, and I was told that my wife owned 33% of the company, which is not true. That's a lie. The operating agreement doesn't say anything about that, and yet that's what was told to me in the beginning. There was a time that we looked at my wife owning 33% of the overall company assets in a trust, but not actually on the operating agreement or actually having real ownership. It was just in a way that was supposed to protect me, but we never went through with it. It never actually happened. But I was told that the 33% owned by my wife meant that if my wife wanted to get divorced from me, this was the first conversation where things went sideways. I was told that and remember, this is a bold-faced lie. If my wife owned 33% and she decides to get a divorce lawyer involved, and a divorce lawyer comes in and looks at the books of all of the companies involved, that they're going to find that supposedly there's a bunch of taxes owed, which I still haven't seen or have proof of, but I've been told there was a bunch of taxes owed. And so my wife decided to come in and liquidate her 33%, that we would have to close down the business. And that was the fear that was put in my head. And that was why I was told that people couldn't look at the books. And my thing is, if you've done the books correctly, then why would you be concerned about somebody coming in and checking the financials? I'm not scared of somebody coming and checking in the financials. Somebody please go check them. Like, I'm all for people checking the financials. I'm actually like, that's what I want more than anything, is for someone to go in there and look at the books.
And to be fair, though, to be fair, that's what they're saying too, because they're even claiming, yes, like looking at the books, going through, because that was part of what the criminal investigation was them going through the books. When you had that phone call with the mediator that you released,
that's false.
Well, that's what they're insinuating, though. That they're insinuating that they're doing a forensic audit of the accounting as well.
Right, an internal company-led audit of the books. Like, that's what it is. I've got pieces of another conversation that basically state that, oh no, it's an internal investigation that we're doing on the books. There's this optics that everything's open when it's not. There was also the insinuation that an appraisal is taking place and I'm holding it up. I'm not even allowed in the building. I'm not even allowed to talk to anybody. How am I holding up an appraisal? There's been no attempt to go to my lawyer and get an appraisal and to agree on an appraisal for a buyout. It's smoke and mirrors. There's not one conversation. In fact, their counsel is being extremely difficult. Won't even respond to my lawyer or give anything. I mean, I think there's been some interaction, but only because we reached out, and there's been nothing. There's this idea that, oh, we're just willing to work with him and we're working with him the whole time. 100% false. What's the buyout number? What's the appraisal of the business? Where's it at? None of this information has been shared. And it's a nonstop campaign to make it look like I'm stopping some kind of process that I can't even take part in because I'm not in the building and they're not having conversations with us. I'm very adamant that there will be a forensic auditor walking in that building that is selected. I don't know the exact way that it works legally. I believe that one party has to select it and the other one's got to approve it, kind of almost like you would choose a jury. But that's the situation. So no, there has been, if it is, then publish the findings from the forensic auditor. You know, let's see what it all looks like. There's an internal investigation that was a witch hunt to try to find something that I've done when I haven't done anything to make it look like I've been doing, I've participated in wrongdoing. And I think there's been a lot of disappointment that they couldn't find anything real that I've actually done. And there's a reason for that, because I haven't actually done anything they're accusing me of. Because think about this, guys. If I had, the last thing in the world I would want is for an auditor to go in and look at those books.
That or you're crazy and you're stupid. That was what people would say.
Of course, right? But when you look at the truth, and the truth is I'm the one calling for it and they're the ones that are hiding it, then you see what's going on here. Like, guys, why do you think I've been publicly calling on the FBI? Why do you think? Why do you think I've had conversations to potentially talk to the FBI about this? Whether I have or have not at this point, I'm not at liberty to say. What I would tell you is it would be insane for a man who lost his business, who has a new business that's thriving already. We have sponsors lined up. Like, my business is fine. I'm going to be okay. Like, it's been a process and I'm still waiting on, like, I'm still dealing with some bank stuff, getting money in banks and to where I can actually use my money functionally outside of crypto. Right. But and there's been a lot of things that have been done to try to stop me from doing that. But I have nothing to hide. It's never been clearer, guys, that I had nothing to do with financial controls in that business. There has been things going on financially that I've never one time in the history of my company, since TJ was brought on board as my business partner, and a Bank of America account, Bank of America account was opened by Tim Shed and TJ Shed. I've never seen one of those bank accounts one time. I've also never seen the offshore bank account in the British Virgin Islands. Never seen it. I have no idea what these accounts look like. And so I don't have any financial controls over the business. I never had. How do you think they could lock me out of everything if I had a clue? That's why I had to go to my CPA to find the operating agreement, because they wouldn't give me the operating agreement. They shut me out. What? If you're in such a strong position, why do you shut someone out of the business documents? It should be pretty cut and dry, right? But I've never had one document under request that was given to me. It's all been one of these things where I've been asking for stuff and I've had to find these things. I've had to find workarounds to get a hold of all this, because once again, you go back to the very beginning of this, the confusion. It's all about the confusion, causing confusion for me, causing confusion for the audience, causing confusion for the employees. And going forward, now my eyes, the veil has been lifted from my eyes. And I'm really looking forward to the veil being lifted on the eyes of all the people involved. But at this point, some of these people are involved, but some of the people that work there, they're just dug in so deep. They don't really have a spot where they can spin out of what they've said. They just have to hope and cross their fingers. And they believe that they're on the right side. They do believe it. I know this. There are people there that really believe they're doing the right thing. And I got to say, when this is all over, like I said, when they understand what they've been helping to cover up unknowingly, that there are going to be a lot of people that are going to need therapy and need counseling to understand what pawns they've been played.
Well, I mean, ultimately, Ben, when it comes down to one side is lying, it's, which side is it?
Absolutely.
Because I mean, there's no other way around it. There's no other line. It's just a line in the sand of lying or not.
Of course. And when you look at me and my history and you look at the fact that I was a drug addict and 15 years ago, I had to go to rehab. It makes it a lot easier to kind of tell this narrative that, oh, he's the one, and to point at me and say, he did all these. Look, guys, he's got a history. He's got a past, and now he's back in it. So now you can't trust anything he says. And so, that's been the story that's been painted from day one. And it's a story that's been unequivocally false from day one.
Okay. So I want to move on. Got a few more questions. Carlos Diaz, Larry Smith, whatever his name is. it's been said to me, it was said in the interview that he's a friend of Ben's. He's a community member. He's an investor. He came to one of the first meetups, the Bitboy Crypto meetups, took a picture with Ben. One day he came to the studio after Ben, you invited people to the studio. That's what made me to ultimately come out and visit you. And he got to know you and got to know people at Hit Network. He bought thousands of books. For sure. Bought thousands of books, invested in various different projects with you, and ultimately was trying
not with me. He's never
trying to help you.
He's never invested in anything with me. That's false.
Okay. So who is Carlos Diaz? How and when did he get involved?
Interestingly enough, after I've attempted to fire someone in the building, and I go to Alaska for 2 weeks, which it was only 4 days after I attempted to fire this person, Carlos enters the building for the first time while I'm in Alaska, after I tried to fire one of these people that's involved at the top. And so
that was his first time coming to the studio.
Absolutely.
That you know of?
Absolutely.
And this would have been August, September of 2022-ish.
Would have been September of 2021 or 2020. September of 2022. Yeah, September of 2022. I'm losing track. We're at the end of 2023, so it's almost 2 years ago now. But yeah, basically, or no, it's not. It's almost. We're almost 2 years removed from it. So it would have been in September of 2022. That's when he came in the building for the first time. There was a meeting between Mike Will Made It, his dad, Carlos, and Justin Williams. And that meeting took place right after I got back from Alaska. It was set up by supposedly this person randomly coming to our building for the first time while I'm gone in Alaska to meet with one of the people who I just tried to fire. And of course, tons of books were bought, right? Because when you go and look at the 33 strategies of war, what is one of the strategies when you're conducting a long con and when you're strategically going after someone? What do? You buy them gifts. So buy hundreds of my books, right? But it's weird. Every single time these books were bought, it was bought through the publisher, and I was included as a CC on the email, right? Why? Because it was not buying the books. It was the point, right? Because TJ said there were hundreds of books in the garage. Well, if you bought all these books to hand them out, why are they all in the garage? Because they were built, they were bought to butter me up. Kind of like a pair of sunglasses I was told was given to me, my gold ones. They were $15,000. These are the cheapest sunglasses you ever saw in your life. They've got some gold on them. They're probably not worth $500. And I was told they were $15,000 glasses. Gift after gift. That's how you get in with someone. That's how you get someone's trust. You come in, you get gifts. 99% of the time that this person was in the building, he was in the office of Vumio, where he got some of his people to invest $1 million in cash. I believe it was. I believe it was a check that was given. And so you can't find it on the blockchain where that money is. So there's no chain analysis that can find that cash. People can, you can't look for it. You don't know where it is. So, that's what happened. Came in, brought these people, got invested in Vumio, not invested in any of my projects, not invested in anything I do. Only invested in that. And that's where it started. And when you look at the timing of this, and I would also point out, by the way, that 10 days after the first official meeting occurred between people at the top, Justin Williams and Carlos, my house was swatted. 10 days later, my house was swatted. So people can look at the intimidation. They can look at what's been done to me. They can look at the death threats, and they can read into that interesting timing however they want to read into that interesting timing.
That's the first time you mentioned that to me. Why you mentioned first time stuff, man? Yeah, because I
have all the
you've shared a lot with me that you can't talk about privately, which is why I have to frame the questions in a certain manner as well. Was Carlos an investor in Vumio?
Yes, and he had many people that invested on his behalf as well. And I was told that all those people wanted their money back. And if they wanted their money back, why was it not just given back? That's a great question, right? Like, why is that on me? I have nothing to do with Vumio. The only thing I had with Vumio is I have shares that I didn't pay for. They were given to me as equity because it was my idea in the first place. It was my idea to create an NFT platform, and then I was removed from it. There's a strategic plan to move me away from being the CEO of Vumio and to become just an investor advisor and to lower my equity. Why? Well, what I was told is I was told that if I'm the CEO, then it's a big problem and people might come after us. which didn't make a lot of sense to me at the time, but I said, okay, that's fine. I trust these people around me. But how much sense does it make to have someone in my building, the CEO, if people are going to come after me that's closely associated with me? Doesn't make sense from the beginning. I was separated from Vumio to where I didn't have an official role and I didn't have majority shares, so I couldn't fire Justin. That was the plan. That was launched in June 25th of 2022. That plan was to put into action to protect them. So in August, when I tried to fire him, or I did fire him, I have a text message where I fired him on August 30th. Basically, TJ could talk me out of it by saying, I don't have the power to do that. So I'm very curious, what the reasoning is. If Carlos and his people wanted their money back, as he claims that they do, then why does Justin not give him the money back? Why does Justin not give Mike Wilmeda his money back? Why does Justin not give, Mike Wilmeda's dad his money back? Why not? The money should all be there. It's very interesting. I just don't know why they were coming after me when all the money should be in the accounts. They should have all the money for Vumio. So I'm just very curious as to why I was blamed for their Vumio investment when I have had nothing to do with it. I haven't made a single decision. I've not made one decision on Vumio. I'm removed from it. Structurally, it was set up this way. So it's just kind of a confusing thing.
Okay. Bencoin, when you acquired Bencoin from Ben.eth, you talked about having some private investors, some people on the private side helping with acquiring and everything started. Was or is Carlos, Diaz, Larry Smith, whatever his name is, was he one of those?
No,
was he an
not.
investor? Was he an investor in Bitcoin, in Bencoin?
I mean, like anybody, if you're a holder of Bitcoin, you're an investor in Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm sure I know, he definitely owns Bitcoin. But
did he purchase tokens from you directly?
There were some OTC deals that were done with Carlos, very, very early on. Some OTC deals, but there were OTC deals. They were paid for just like everybody else.
Was he, as far as you know, was he hired to be an employee, or was he an employee of Hit Network?
He has received money from the company. But there was always a strategic move to keep him away from the payroll, even though his son was paid. His son Sincere was paid by TJ behind my back without me knowing it. All of a sudden, he comes to me one day and says, "Hey, we're in the music business now." Why? Oh, well, I just paid Carlos' son $50,000. So for a record contract,
you got proof of the son and Carlos receiving money?
Oh yeah, all that. Oh, for sure. I mean, Tim Shedd sent it all to him.
Okay. Cool. What is the deal with the Lamborghini? Before you answer that, I thought that the Lamborghini was a company car. I thought it was either in the name of Hit Network or it was duly titled between you and TJ, but it was titled only in your name.
Only in my name.
I was told that there was an agreement that you had made with Carlos to sell the Lamborghini to pay back some of the people that you owed money to, and that you were supposed to get about $50K remaining.
No. That's absolutely false. I've owed money to no one. Yeah, I owe money to no one. That was not what was said. What was said?
What's the deal with the Lambo and Carlos, and how did he get the title?
It's a great question. You'd have to ask them.
I mean, did he get the title from you?
What's that?
Did he get the title from you?
Yes, under death threat. I texted TJ and I said, I have text messages, guys. I have a text message where I literally said, yeah, I mean, you know what, guys? I mean, why would I just say it when I can tell you exactly what it is? I will tell you exactly what.
Again, don't incriminate yourself. Just make sure that you're putting out what you're willing to put out.
Absolutely. What the text message says is that, do you know Carlos is making me sign over the Lamborghini now, and he's selling it for $318,000 in cash, like in 5 minutes. I don't know what's real anymore, but I'm doing it. I don't have a choice. I was under duress. I was under death threat. I was told I had to do it. I was told that it was supposed to go to pay off. Now, I didn't have a choice anyways, not that it mattered, but I was told that it went to pay off lawsuits that were in the building. Now, we know now, looking at this, there's only one lawsuit or two lawsuits now that have been filed on their behalf of the building. And these were both after this. And not only that, they were filed by Hit Network. And now we know that the car was given to Carlos because he lost money in an investment. There's a news article where TJ admitted to this, that it was given to Carlos because he lost money in investment. Guys, how many of you guys have ever gone to CZ and said, hey, I invested in Binance. I bought some coins on Binance and it's bear market. They're down right now. Can you give me some of my money back? That's not the way investing works. And once again, when everybody looks at the situation from the outside, it's very obvious that this was a lie from top to bottom. And it's very obvious I was under duress in these text messages where I'm saying I didn't have a choice. And of course, TJ's response to that was, now remember, this was a company asset, guys. There's a company asset, supposedly, which is weird because why did I have to sign it over if it was a company asset? TJ has told everyone in the building it was a company asset. His response to that, when I told him that I just signed it over to Carlos, I didn't have a choice, I said it's gone, was, bro, I have no idea what's going on right now either. No idea what's going on with the Lamborghini. No idea. TJ had no idea Carlos was coming over to make me sign the Lamborghini over for himself. Sign the title with my signature like it's a blank check. That's what this is all about.
So,
and I can't say anything more about what's going on with Lamborghini. But what I will say is that we are right now in process. There is legal proceedings, both civilly and criminally, coming with Lamborghini.
well, as far as the title is concerned, did you have the title at your house when he came to get you to sign the title over, or did somebody give him the title?
He made me meet him at Walmart and sign it over.
Okay, so you had possession of the title. It wasn't as if somebody gave the title to him.
Oh, no. Actually, he had it. He had the title. So question, if no one knew what he was doing, because TJ clearly says he didn't know.
Well, that's what I'm asking is how did he get the title? How did he get the title? If you didn't have possession of the title when the car was in only your name, then who had possession? Okay, so TJ has the title.
That TJ gave it to Carlos. Listen to the leaked audio. He says that they knew about it. And then if you listen to the call earlier in the day with TJ says that he doesn't know about it. Very strange.
Why did you decide to go to his house? You actually texted me like right before you were doing it. And I should have told you it wasn't a good idea. I said, wow, bro. So that's all it was about. You just wanted to find your Lamborghini?
Yeah, I wanted to find Lamborghini. And there was another part of it that was, Carlos, he for a long time intimidated me and he scared me. There was some times where I was scared of Carlos, not anymore, obviously. And so the whole thing is that I basically went there to see if the Lamborghini was there. And I wanted to live stream, and that was all that it was. There was nothing more to it than that. And the Lamborghini, supposedly, according to the police officers I talked to there, it was not there, which means it's somewhere else, but the title is in his name. It was transferred to him.
Well, it was when you signed it over to him, technically, then, right?
Well, no. When you sign the title, and these are things I've learned from the Georgia Department of Revenue because we've been in touch with them throughout this process, is that when you sign it over, just because you sign the title over, it doesn't have to be it's not transferred yet. You have to actually take it in or mail it in or whatever the process is. And then it's actually transferred. So the title had already gone through the complete transfer process when I went and filed a report on this. And it was transferred directly to Carlos.
Okay. So ultimately, you got arrested that night, and that's partially why we ended up canceling the interview we were going to do last Tuesday. Right. Knowing everything that happened,
that's actually not true. Yeah, that's actually not true. I think people look at that and it's easy to interpret. It was more some of the things that were said on the Altcoin Daily interview were the reasons why my lawyer told me that they didn't want me to talk about this anymore in the way I had been talking about it before. Okay. That was actually a reaction to that, not a reaction to the arrest. But yeah, I mean, I needed to take a break for a couple of days. I was going under some severe PTSD at the time from everything that's been done to me. And I did need to take a step back. I didn't take a 100% step back, obviously. There were some tweets. I wanted to straighten out the Me and Crypto Blood were good. I want to post a picture of my friend I saw in Kentucky and stuff like that. But there was very limited social media interaction there. I was like, I could go post something and leave. And I wasn't paying attention to Twitter at that time. But yeah, that's all that it was, I was tired of being bullied and I was tired of being intimidated by these people. And I wanted to go find Lamborghini and know where it was. And so once I found out it was transferred to him, and I went to go look for it. And so, I mean, and look, people look and they say, oh, Ben was crazy. He was so erratic, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, when you're reading articles that said I was hopped up on cocaine, no drugs found in the vehicle, obviously, because there were no drugs involved and there haven't been from day one. But guys, I've always, I went outside of Sam's house. I sat on top of Sam's car. I went to Sam's parents' house. I went to the lawyers in New York City. I went to Nova Wolf for Celsius. Guys, this is what I've done my entire career. I'm an investigative journalist, and I go and I go and I will live stream and I will go to someone's location to let them know that I'm not scared, I'm not intimidated, and make the content from where it needs to be made from. And that's what I did that day.
Well, do you regret it, and would you do it again?
Yeah, I do regret it. I do regret it because my adrenaline was pumping and I wasn't anticipating that. I thought I was going to go and be very calm. Or I kind of thought that maybe he was going to come out and try to fight me, like, or try to shoot me. That's what I anticipated, honestly. I thought those were probably the two most likely options. Of course, but he didn't. I was just like, okay, I was kind of left with, okay, what do I do here? I certainly hope those weren't that wasn't what was going to happen. I wanted to go and just kind of like see where the Lamborghini was and do a live stream and go on my way. And that's what I was going to do. And so for me, the reason why I wish I wouldn't have done it, obviously, is because it resulted in some complications for me going forward with this. And by complications, I just mean additional legal actions I didn't need. And plus, going back to the Altcoin Daily interview, there were things that were said on that interview that like I didn't have to fight anymore. And the only reason I'm talking now, I don't care what's going on out there with the other company. It don't matter. We're on our legal proceedings. We're on our legal game. We're moving forward with court. It doesn't matter what they throw, come hell or high water. We're moving on the process that we want to go on. But I know that people want to hear me talk and that they want to know my side of things. And I don't want to talk about it on my channel. I'm only talking crypto, but I know that's what the public wants. And, I want to show people that, I have, turned over a new leaf on this channel. And by a new leaf, I don't mean like I was out of control on the last channel. I need to change your. I just mean like I'm trying to do things a little bit differently than I was doing it before, and that's all there is to it. Trying to be a little more humble. And guys, I have been humbled through all this. I mean, when your best friends turn on you and I'll stab you in the back brutally, and then get other people to be complicit in it, it hurts. It sucks. I mean, I've cried a lot over this. I've sobbed over this. I've sobbed on camera over this. And guys, people can look and they can see from the outside. They can see it's authentic. Like and it's asinine to believe that I can be as hurt as I've been. And yet what I'm trying to create some kind of giant psyop here? Like, guys, if I was truly guilty of all the things they said that I had done, why am I still fighting? Why am I still fighting? Wouldn't it be easier for me? My new channel, I'm going to make more money on this new channel than I made on the last one because I'm not paying people, right? I'm focused on myself and I can bring in 10% of the revenue that I was bringing in the other company and make way more money than I was making at the other company because I chose to spend my money on my employees. I chose to spend my money on building something that was a cool place to work, where people could come and work every day and have a sense of accomplishment and working together towards something and working together towards goals. And I was losing money constantly. Hit Network was a failure from the very beginning. The only profitable channel we've ever had from Hit Network was Frankie. That's it. Me and Frankie. The only two things on that channel that ever brought in income. I created BitLab Academy. BitLab Academy brings in money. I created that. We had a Discord server a year and a half there was BitLab Academy. We renamed it. Then we called it the BitLab. We called it the BitLab initially, is what we called it. I created that. Almost all, the majority of the people that are on Discord there, I brought them in. That was something that was taken from me and given to another person, given a percentage of, so they could run it because obviously I don't have full time to run everything. But even BitLab Academy that brings in money, that was all my idea from the very beginning. So that was actually in use before TJ ever even entered the building. Before he even entered the building, we had BitLab Academy. Right. Or the BitLab, as we used to call it. So Hit Network was nothing but a drain on my finances. But why did I do it? Because I don't care that much about money. I care more about the people in the building. And that's what's so sad about all this is the people that have been warped, their brains have been warped to believe that that's not true and that someone that was on your side the entire time has actually been against you. When in reality, it's quite the opposite.
And that's what's confusing is because that's what TJ's saying the same thing. And again, someone's lying. Somebody's lying when it comes down to it. So one more real question, and then we're going to wrap up with the present and future of Ben Armstrong. So when you released the 2 audio calls, you did the one release where you did them together and added the commentary, then you released them separately. I told you I've been in communication with everybody. TJ sent me the full phone call with TJ. Why didn't
I was going to release the full phone call the next day, by the way, after I got arrested. I'd already said I was going to release it.
The only there were like 3 minutes that I thought the 3 minutes that were left kind of added a little bit of a different perspective.
No, the last 3 minutes of that call were basically him pretending that the FBI is in the building. That's what it was. If you listen to that call, it was him pretending that the SEC, the IRS, and the FBI are doing some kind of investigation on me. And I knew for a fact that they weren't doing that because I knew people in the building that were telling me these people are not actually in the building. It was just some lawyers and trying to make it sound like I'm in some kind of giant amount of trouble, which is their narrative. That's what they're trying to pretend like is that I'm this big problem and that all of these people are in the building. I was going to have AJ release it the next day. And I was going to have AJ do a reaction and tell you the reality of what was going on in the building as these lies were being told in real time by TJ. And I just felt like it was something that for the Bitcoin community that had been so loyal and so good to me, despite everything, that it wasn't really fair to release something where TJ is making all of these false accusations and implications. And of course, at the end of the call, it doesn't give a different perspective. It doesn't give a different perspective. At the end of the call, he says,
well, he's talking about an internal investigation.
Yeah, well, yeah, an internal investigation. But is that what it sounded like on the first 3 minutes? It sounded like there were people from outside the building that were in there, correct? That was the way he made it sound. That there's impression. Yes, exactly.
But there was also the inside thing too that he was also saying. So there was conflicting information.
Of course, because there's been conflicting information the entire time. So it's all a psyop on me, guys. It's a psyop to make me think that I'm in trouble. That's what they've been trying to do from the very beginning. And like there was a part of me that didn't want to dig into the truth of everything. And like go through every text message I've ever sent to these people, because people can take things out of context. But the reality is when I actually went back and looked at all my communications with all of these individuals involved, I realized like there's not even anything in these text messages or that they can even try to take out of context. And that's when I started feeling stronger. And guys, I wanted to move to Dubai. Why? Because I had been placed in a state of paranoia for months and months and months and months, because since May, people were actively planning to overthrow me. And there were people whispering. I knew there was a weird feeling. I couldn't figure out what it was. And I guess my projection of that was, maybe there's something going on I don't know about. Like maybe, who knows? Like maybe they're working with people. It was just fake, guys. It was all fake. There was nobody ever working with anybody. This is a story of employees and a minority owner of a business that wanted to overthrow someone that they were jealous of and they didn't like, and they've been resentful for a long time. And then getting people to be complicit in that. So I think that's really the story here. And that was the only reason I didn't release those, and I was going to release it. And plus, like, I didn't feel like it was really relevant to what I was saying, but I'm not scared of those last 3 minutes. It doesn't help them. It doesn't help them.
For transparency. For transparency purposes, would either you or do you care if I release it?
I'm going to say I cannot tell you what you can or cannot do. I would say that my lawyer does not want me releasing anything.
Okay.
Going forward.
Now, if in theory I was to release it, would this cause some kind of issue between me and your relationship?
Rice, you are an independent, autonomous person. And I support your right to do whatever you feel like doing.
Okay. I'll think on that, and we'll just leave it at that. So, one man, thank you for being so forthcoming. I appreciate answering the questions as best you could. I know you are going to be doing the interview with Altcoin Daily, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be some repetition. Hopefully they're going to ask something different, and I'm asking some different questions as well. And we're hitting on this in a way that everybody can get a better understanding of what's happening with the situation. But to wrap things up, to move forward in time, let's go to the present and let's kind of look forward to the future. You talk about this power alliance. I mentioned JChains. To also come back full circle, JChains is now back working with you, working with AJ as well. You guys have formed this power alliance.
Yeah.
And I put that in parentheses. It's the power alliance. And you're talking about a show together, the NWF, the New World Finance. You're talking about a show called, I think, Crypto Crossfire. Did I get that right? Okay, so what's going on with the present and future of Ben Armstrong, this alliance, and everything else moving forward?
So we're excited about Crypto Crossfire. This is going to be a cool show. We're live. It's going to be Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as always. And Crypto Crossfire is going to be a show hosted by me, JChains, and AJ. Each one of us are going to take a day off Monday through Thursday, so each of us will be on the show 3 days a week. And it's similar to a previous show that I created, except for better. So on this show, we're going to be covering one topic per day. That's it. There will be kind of one question to start the show off. And there's going to be a guest. And let's say it's you, Rice. You're going to be backstage. People are still going to be able to see you on camera, but you're going to be backstage. And you're going to listen to the arguments of me versus AJ, or AJ versus JChains, for instance, or whoever one of our guest hosts may be. You're going to listen to the arguments. Then you're going to come on after you hear the arguments, and you're going to state like what you thought of the arguments. Each one of us is then going to get the opportunity to ask you one question that we think will help our argument, kind of like in a courtroom almost. You know, you ask questions that try to help you, and then you're going to answer those questions. And then after that, you're going to give your overall take on the topic. AJ and I will get one last chance to present our arguments, and then you are going to get to pick the winner and which side of the argument is right. So I think it's a really cool concept for a show. We're really excited about it. We think it's going to do really well. It's going to be a different twist on things, obviously, and really looking forward to getting that show going. And so, yeah, the future of good.
Will that be on Ben Armstrong Crypto, the
Yes.
YouTube channel, or is that going to be on the new? Because you're talking about creating a new channel with the NWF, right?
Right. The New World Finance channel is going to be a collection of clips from all of our shows, different forms of content, short form, long form, videos, the whole 9 yards. And that's going to be a place where anyone that eventually joins the NWF will be able to have their clips placed. And so it's just a way for us. I saw that Hit Network is done wrong. Hit Network, of course, I called for Frank Diaz's channel back. And then, of course, 4 days later, he gets, there's some deal made. I don't know any of the details. There's some deal made to give him 100% of his channel after I called for it because, Hit Network was supposed to be a place for creators that didn't use the same predatory structure that other record labels or other media networks use. And yet it turned right into that where they were taking money from the creators that were making the money and the network was benefiting. And that's never what I wanted. I always wanted a network that's more, the word alliance is a better word. JChains and AJ, they don't work for me. They're not my employees. I do have some employees that are going to work here for me, but not content creators. Content creators are meant to thrive off collaboration. You don't have to force people into contracts to try to make money off of great influencers and great educators and great entertainers. They can make it on their own. Of course, I'm, formerly one of the largest YouTubers in the space. I'm sure I will be again one day. But the fact is I understand what my name brings, and I understand that the kind of people that want to work with me, and I want to pass that off to, I don't want to call them the next generation because JChains been there with me the whole time, but the other members of Power Alliance. So we can all be getting deals and making money together and working together and collaborating, making content that there's no feelings of resentment because everybody's making their own money and everybody's getting to pay for their own office, they're renting and things like that. And I'm willing to help these people. I'm willing to help people that join in the beginning to kind of help them get the training wheels off so they can be having a sustainable income on their own. I mean, guys, AJ was making like $800 a week at Hit Network. That's what he was making. I think he was making like $800 a week for all of the content that he provided over there. By far the best content creator they had in the stable. Along with Frank. Frank hasn't been on the channel though. And when AJ
what they
came
did with
over
Frank though. What they did
Yeah.
with Frank, I think, looking at the deal, from what I can tell, it seems cool. And maybe it's just trying to,
but that was
trying
after
to
I
show
called
good
for it
faith.
publicly.
And I get that.
I called for it publicly for 4 days. Why was that not done before? Why was it only done after I called for him to get 100% ownership?
It does look like you're showing face by doing it after you mentioned it several times.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So like let's not give them credit for a good faith deal that was done based on pressure. And Frank doesn't want anything to do with it.
On Frankie's end, I think that ultimately he's within a certain amount of time, he's just going to be able to leave completely and have complete ownership of everything, which is good.
I don't know anything about the deal. I know nothing about that deal. I would assume there are some contingencies based on how our situation shakes out between us. There could be some contingency based upon, maybe paying a certain amount to get released. I don't know about that. I'm just saying if I were looking at what made this deal happen in terms of what Frank has said, which was, I can't get it back now, but over time, I'm going to get the keys. And so it's one of these things where I don't know what was worked out, but why does he not just get it now? Why does there have to be a process? It doesn't make any sense.
One last thing before we do,
green all the content.
Yeah, 100%. One last thing before we do like final thoughts. If you do win, everything turns out successful and you get the channel back. You've mentioned several times, hashtag Bitboy Crypto is dead. Is Bitboy Crypto dead? Are you going to revamp? Will there be a zombie known as Bitboy Crypto coming back? Or are you going to still remain Ben Armstrong Crypto?
Well, there was a time near the beginning of this where I believed that I would get everything back quickly. And we were basically, there was a motion in court that was denied. No reason for the denial, which didn't make any sense why it was denied. And of course, that hearing was passed off as the end of this. This is just the beginning, guys. That was literally
that was the
kickoff.
emergency injunction that you supposedly lost, and they said that Cassie and your wife were sitting together in support of you.
Right, of course. And of course, the employees at Hit Network were told that they had to sit on the other side. They were not allowed to sit on my side. And then in court, of course, the lawyer turned around and said, all these people are willing to testify against him, when all the people over there were not willing to testify. This is how even the employees at Hit Network were used as pawns. And I know this from people that were there that said that they were not under the impression that they were going to be used by that. So yeah, that was basically the emergency hearing. And I was told in the very beginning that, I should have gotten everything back quickly, but I haven't. And now people can look at the trajectory of that channel, and you look at the engagement, and then you look at the engagement of my new channel. And my new channel, the analytics are some of the craziest analytics that crypto YouTube has ever seen, because I came in during the bear market and have only active engaged followers, as opposed to the follower bloat from the other channel. And of course, I think there's been 40 to 50,000 subscribers lost on that channel so far. And then when you do the math and you say, well, I've got almost 60,000 subscribers, and all this 60,000 is active. And then you look at their subscribers and say they've lost about 50,000, and they've lost 50,000 actively engaged subscribers. That's why they would unsubscribe, right? Because they were active and they've been watching what happened. And you start to see that there's not really active engaged subscribers that are left mathematically over there. So I think going forward, what I can tell you, I can't tell you what my plans are for that for that channel. It's not if it's given back, when it is given back. There's no way that I lose this, guys. I want everybody to look at me. There's 0% chance that I lose and I don't get everything back. There's zero legal basis for what has been done. Any attorney, except for their attorney, will tell you that. Like, people that are watching, if you're an attorney and you have a 67% owner that's overthrown by a 33% owner after he admits that the only reason he overthrew you was because you fired him. Oh yeah, by the way, and you still own 67% of the company. There's no lawyer in the world that will look and say, that's a case I want to take. There's not one, except for the one that they hired. And I believe that they've lied to a lot. So what I can tell you is, now at this point, with the self-inflicted destruction of that channel by the people running it, I can tell you very confidently that I will never be known as Bitboy again. I will always be known as Ben Armstrong. And when the channel is given back, I do have a plan for that channel. But it is not a place where I will put regular crypto content. And it's, guys, there's this idea that I desperately cling on to things, like, oh, he's going to desperately cling on to his designer wear, or oh man, the Lamborghini. Guys, I don't give a flip about the Lamborghini. I give a flip about what was done to me over the Lamborghini. That's what the upsetting part is. That my hand was forced by a bully who said he was going to kill me if I didn't give him $3 million. That $3.2 million, by the way, is a very, very, very important number. I've discovered what it means. And I don't.
Well, I've heard it numerous times, and I've heard that figure being thrown around with the Celsius loss as well, which
there was about a $3 million
in charge of,
loss, I believe. Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure about the connection between that loss and Celsius, but I do know why that number is important. It has nothing to do with me.
There was one thing I did forget to ask real quick, and that was, have you sold any Bitcoin? Because I was told that you sold 5% of the supply, totaling up to about $700,000 in 12 hours. Is that true or false?
That's false. That's false.
All right, man. Well, again, I really appreciate you taking the time to answer all these questions. I appreciate you coming on for the interview. I look forward to checking out the interview that you're going to be doing with Altcoin Daily, and I definitely encourage people to check that out so they can get a better understanding of the entirety of the situation. If you haven't seen the interview with TJ, I definitely encourage everybody to watch that as well, so you can look at every single angle of the story. You have any final thoughts, anything you want to add, Ben, before we wrap up this conversation today?
Yeah, I just say the future is bright for Ben Armstrong Crypto. The future is bright for the New World Finance Alliance. Super excited about where we're going. The future is bright all the way around. We've got some killer ideas for shows. And, we're getting back to brass tacks. Everybody knows I was absent for a lot of the last year on the channel. There were people that were, I guess, allowed to think that they were more important than they should have been. When in reality, the numbers always dropped when I wasn't there. And for a good reason, because it was my show and I created it. And I was the founder. And I'm the reason why people watch the show. This is probably the worst nightmare of the people at Hit Network, which is that through trying to destroy me and publicly humiliate me, I've realized that I didn't have a formula for success. There was no formula that we could take and we could apply to other channels and say, hey, let's get Ben's recipe and let's have someone else come in and do this and we can build a big channel. And I overestimated my own interpretation of why I was popular. The reason why my channel has done so well and the reason why I'm popular, outside of me just helping people make money, is that people like me. People like me or they love to hate me. But either way, people have opinions on me. And when people saw, when I moved from that channel to my new channel and everyone came with me that was active, people saw that the true value of Bitboy Crypto was always Bitboy. It was always me. And there's a part of that that might sound a little egotistical for people, but that's not true at all, actually. It was, guys, I never knew my own value. I didn't understand that I was the draw. I thought I had a formula. But through this and the support of the community, what I've realized is people really love me. And they have my back, and they've had my back through this entire thing. And that's why people are clamoring and they're looking to hear what really happened because it's so mysterious. And I will tell you, there is a mystery. And I know what happened. And when people understand what really occurred, people are going to be on my side more than ever. And I don't have to defend myself. And I will never have to defend myself again going forward when people see what's been done to me. And so really excited about the new channel, about the new direction and moving forward. And, I hope that, your audience, they come and they watch and they see and they take part. And Rice, you're going to definitely get an invite to come on the new show, on the Crypto Crossfire show, and look forward to getting things back. But we're never moving back to the high production value, so gigantic studio, millions of dollars of equipment. I don't need any of that. You know all I need?
That was insane. It was insane, dude. Just working at my house, doing this in my room and going to the studio, that was just way too much.
Yeah.
It really was. I was proud of what you guys had accomplished, but it really was way too much.
Well, if I look back, if I would have always just stuck to doing what I did and sat in front of a computer, then I would be about 10 times richer than I am right now. So I thought by bringing in all these high level people that know everything, that like what I'll be able to do is have this high production value and I'll run my show like I'm ESPN or CNN or Fox News. But what you see is like you see with Tucker's show, like stuff isn't that important. It's the people that are important. And while they can replace the cameras, they can replace the shows, they'll never be able to replace me. And I think that's the message that I think the community has sent. And I appreciate everybody from the bottom of my heart. I thank you, Rice, for letting me come on and talk. And, I wish there were things I could tell more and I could say more about, and there will be a time for that. And I look forward to being able to share the entirety of the story.
Yeah. And obviously you got an open invitation, man, if you want to come back on when that time comes. Again, I mean, when it comes down to it, someone's not telling the truth, and it's just a matter of which side that is. And until there's more information, I'm really confused, man. I do appreciate you being forthcoming. And when I say I'm confused, I'm not saying that I just don't know.
I understand what you mean.
I don't know.
Know what you mean. It's unbelievable.
Unless you're involved, unless you're really, really involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done a really good job at like trying to figure this thing out. And I figured a lot of things out, but there's just something that's not connecting. And that's the thing that's kind of bothering me.
Yeah, there will be a time where that connection is made, and there will be people that make that connection that are not you, me, or the people in the building. There will be people outside the building that make that connection.
Right. All right, man. Well, just bear with me real quick. I'm going to do the wrap up. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate you tuning in. If you're not subscribed to Ben Armstrong's new YouTube channel, Ben Armstrong Crypto. I don't know why I couldn't talk there. Ben Armstrong Crypto. It's going to be linked down below in the video description, as well as his Twitter/X account. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're not subscribed here at Rice Crypto, I definitely encourage you to do so. And before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this. I encourage you, as always, to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in this matrix. Be the change that you want to see in the world. And until next time, practice change.